Hey there! I'm excited to share my mini travel watercolor set with you. I can bring it with me anywhere, even if I don't have a bag with me. You never know when inspiration strikes, so now I always have everything I need to paint on the go, whether I'm out for a short walk or just waiting at a stop. The palette inside is limited to only 3 colors, but I can mix them to create any hue I need. Plus, if I want to do an underdrawing first, I have even a pencil and eraser in my tiny box. It's super secure. The set stays put even when attached to a vertical sketchbook. The palette with paint pens and a mixing well can be positioned individually for maximum comfort. It's easy to carry and convenient for painting anywhere. In this video, I'll be sharing my thought process behind choosing these specific paints, and how I made the color range as wide as possible. I'll also show you how I attach my set to my sketchbook. Earlier, I only used this watercolor set from Derwent to paint both outside and inside. This was my first set, and buying it was a spontaneous decision, which I talked about in my previous video, which will be linked below. It was sold to me as watercolor, but later I found out that it's not quite true. These are Inktense paints that dry faster and wash out worse than traditional watercolor. And some of these paints are also pretty opaque. However, I think that for a travel set, they are very appropriate. I even can say they are ideal for me, as it is important for me to be able to quickly paint something, for example, while waiting somewhere, and then close a sketchbook and go, rather than wait for it to dry. Despite the great benefits of the paints themselves, the entire set has some drawbacks, at least from my perspective. For one, the paint mixing surface didn't clean off even after their first use, which makes it hard to see the shade when I need to mix a transparent color. Another issue is that the water brush, which I use a lot, it's pretty good by the way, anyways, it can only fit in the designated compartment of the box when it's taken apart or when the cap is removed. I even considered cutting the divider between the brush and sponge compartments to make enough space for my brush. Besides, I don't use the sponge much, as I prefer a regular napkin that absorbs better, and it's white so that it allows me to see the paint color more clearly than on this lid, which is not washable. And finally, the main issue I encountered while using this set was the limited range of colors, particularly the inability to achieve deep and rich shades of pink, magenta, purple and violet. I couldn't achieve the desired saturation of these hues with any combination of given colors, which led me to create my own color palette. I guess most art schools teach that the primary colors are yellow, red and blue, but using them you can get only these hues. I compared this Derwent pen set to a cheap children's watercolor and found that I could create a wider range of colors with just these 3 guys. The yellow and blue are close to those from Derwent, but there is a magenta here, and having it instead of red in primaries makes a huge difference. Just look at these vivid violets. That's why I decided to buy a half pen of pure pigment PR 122. I only found Van Gogh at the local art store, but I'm pretty happy with my choice. The next step is to ensure that I can create a color wheel that satisfies me using these 3 paints, bright blue and sun yellow from Derwent and rose from Van Gogh. As you can see, the pens are not attached to the box and the entire set is not secured to the paper, which causes it to move around while I'm painting. As a result, I have to hold it with my hand, which is quite inconvenient. However, I will fix it soon. The main purpose of this test is to ensure that all humanly visible hues can be achieved very saturated, as achieving dark, earthy and neutral colors is always possible through mixing. I can say that this color wheel suits me completely. I can see practically all the saturated colors and hues that I may need. The next concern that I have is whether I can create a true black color using only these three paints. So I drew a circle and mixed all the colors inside. And this black is black enough for me. It's clear that such rich shades are rarely encountered in real life. To paint in my travel sketchbook, I'll need wood colors, neutral grays, and skin tones, which I plan to mix with the help of this set. That's why it's time to make a white coating on the lid to turn it into a mixing palette. I used acrylic titanium white for this because it's more opaque than zinc white. And now, before making the final decision on color choices and fixing them, I want to put this mixing palette and the paints to the test by sketching something in realistic portrait colors. I don't have any face handy, so I decided to sketch my hand, as it has many shades, each of which is needed for portraits, from beige to light tan, from brown to pink and orange. This is my first attempt at painting something in neutral colors with such a limited palette. However, as you can see, it isn't difficult to get any necessary shade by mixing each of my three primary colors in a certain ratio. I like that the box also includes a watercolor pencil, just in case I need to make preliminary sketches first. I don't often use it for watercolor sketches, only in case if I am very afraid of ruining the painting with a failed composition or proportions. That's why I drew outlines with it this time, as I am less confident when paint on recording. And I never use a traditional graphite pencil, because I don't like that it still shows under the wash layer. Therefore, I've decided that for my underdrawings, I'll use only watercolor pencils. This is not the optimal solution for everyone, because it is erased poorly with an eraser. And it is better not to make lines where there shouldn't be any. However, I choose it because it can be washed off with water, leaving no clear visible lines. As for me, the skin colors were conveyed quite realistically. It's a pity that I didn't want to bother mixing colors for the ring. Because the details are very small and contrasting, I couldn't achieve a neutral silver shade with layering colors, and ended up with some kind of gold jewelry. Actually, getting the desired color through layering rather than mixing is a good idea, but not for such small details with clear contrasting contours. While painting this silvery box, I corrected this mistake and mixed a neutral color for it. And overall, the result satisfies me. So now I move on to the next phase, fixing the pens, because it is very inconvenient when they move back and forth with the pencil. I decided to use a magnetic tape for this, but as you can see, it turned out that the strength of the magnet is greater than the strength of the glue. So I decided to additionally secure the magnetic tape to the pens with a regular Scotch tape. Oh, much better! Now it holds very reliably. And if necessary, I can replace these pens with others. And these neodymium magnets work great to attach the palette to the sketchbook. It doesn't fall off even when it's held upside down. I have to admit, I'm very glad that the inconvenience of using a ready-made set inspired me to create my own. And apart from this tiny 3-color set I mentioned in this video, I've also created an all-in-one compact set with 8 colors, which includes absolutely everything I need for painting while traveling. Even some kind of a mini sketchbook, which I designed specifically for the set. If you are interested, let me know in the comments and I might show it in one of my next videos. Thank you so much for watching the whole thing. If you like it, don't forget to press this button. It means a lot to me. And if you don't like it, there is a button for you too. But then I'd be glad to read what do you want to change to make this video perfect for you. Have a great day and stay happy. Wish you all the best and latest.